Hey all, it's KRN here. Today we're going to be doing a Rev9 front-mounted intercooler install and an RS4 Honeycomb Grill install. We're going to be doing both these at the same time just because we have the bumper off. Both installations requires you to take off the bumper, so it's just easier to do them both at once. So if you plan on doing both of these installations sometime in the future for your S4, definitely recommended to save them to do them at the same time. Going into the actual products we're installing, as you see, here's the Rev9 front-mounted intercooler. We'll pop over to the Honeycomb Grill, which looks all nice, nice and black. I went for the black one as it matched my black optic package. Back over to the Rev9. It's gonna be interesting to see the picture showing the comparison between the factory OEM front-mounted intercooler and the aftermarket here. It's about 3 times in size difference. Going into tools, we're using jack stands just to get the front of the car off the ground, drill or impact gun in conjunction with torque bits. So you'll need T20, T25, and T30. We'll be using a ratchet and an extension along with a 13mm and a 10mm socket. I know it's not on here. And then a 13mm wrench. We'll be using a flathead and Phillips head screwdriver, and then wire cutters. The wire cutters is only for the grill installation, but like I said, it's recommended to do both at the same time. And going into the materials, we'll get in why we need the wire cutters. So before we get into that, we're going to touch on the vinyl car wrap. So I wrapped the crash bar on my car because it's silver, and with the Honeycomb Grill, it will stand out like a sore thumb. Funny enough, I just did the installation this weekend, and I already saw another Audi that had a Honeycomb Grill, and maybe some people like the look. Personally, I just don't, but you can see the silver crash bar through their Honeycomb Grill. So I just wrapped mine in a forged carbon fiber wrap, and it looked sick. You'll see some pictures of it, but it was all covered up by the wire mesh anyways. And that goes into the second material, which is wire mesh. This is optional, same with the vinyl car wrap, but it's highly recommended because it will protect your front-mounted intercooler and your radiator from getting rocks pelted at them while you're driving down the highway or a road. And then we'll be using zip ties, which is our third material, to zip tie the wire mesh to the actual grill, and that will help reinforce the wire mesh. Okay, one last thing that wasn't included on this list is an oscillating multi-tool. The oscillating multi-tool we had to use because our grill actually just straight up had some issues with fitment. We'll go into that later, but this was a great tool to kind of fix those little fitment issues and allow everything to go in nicely. Okay, going into the installation video. The first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and pop our hood release. We'll just do this by putting a screwdriver to the back of it. You'll see that there's a rectangle, and we'll push on that and then pull up on it, and it comes right off. Not a problem, easy enough. And you see I demonstrate that here. And then we'll go lift up on the side, lifting up on this front of this shroud, and then pull it towards you, and it comes out. You can see where the actual marks on top of the shroud was from where it's sat underneath this little bracket thing, subdivider. Right here I'm talking about the 4 different screws, or 4 screws. There's actually 5, as you can see here. We get this one, but there's 5 of these screws, the RT30. You'll see them. Just make sure you do all 5, not just the 4 like I almost did in the beginning. Again, T30, you see me using a screwdriver here because I just decided to before I went ahead and actually used the drill. Now we're going to jump onto these T20 screws. There's 3 of them down here, and I identified them by pointing at them. But you can see over to the left, there's also some additional T20 screws that you can grab and pull out just to open this up a little bit more. Right here, I'm just finicking, trying to show you where the next step is, which is the 10mm nuts that are underneath here in this white bracket. Here you can see one. There's actually another one behind this. We'll get a better angle in just a moment here. And now we're at the better angle. So I got really low, and I'm going to pull this carpet to the side. As you see, the car's off the ground. Good job, KRN. And you can see the stud on that second bolt right there. It's really weird that they have this here, but I guess it's for protection. I have no clue. Or make it a pain to access them. I think it's to make it a pain to access them. But either way, there it is. On the driver's side, it's way harder to actually access these. As you see, there are some hard lines right here that don't move. So we pull this clip right here that connects the bumper to the fender. Pull that, and you can see we get some wiggle room. This will allow us to access these 10 millimeter nuts on the driver's side a little bit easier. Let's see. You'll see me, yeah, I'm just right here. I'm just talking about how much easier it is to get in. I was going at this for a little bit before realizing I missed that clip, and this made my life a lot easier. So I don't do it here, but this 10 millimeter bolt, I go ahead and put an extension on, or on the socket rather, and we'll be able to access that. Next thing we're on is this T25 screw. It's very hard to see, but if you look all the way in the back, you can see where the light's shining. It kind of catches the clip, the side of it. It's a T25 torque screw, and you're going to need an extension or two on top of your ratchet to be able to access this, or on your top of your drill to be able to access this. It is very challenging, and as you can see, here I am ratcheting away and just trying to get it. Funny enough, the driver's side is kind of the pain of this install. Everything's just hard to get to, but on the passenger side, there it is, right there, easy enough. Obviously, if you took off the carpet and stuff, you can probably get to it very easy. Alrighty, and now we're on to the bottom of the car. This pan down here, I accidentally pulled the wrong screws, and you see me pointing at them, the wrong torque screws. They're all T30s down here. What you want to do is, towards the back of this pan, it's only about a 12-inch pan, towards the back of it, there's an additional set of screws that run all the way from side to side. You want to pull those ones off, because the actual bumper will pull that whole entire pan with it as you pull the bumper off. As you see here, I'm pointing out the scratches to my bumper from the previous owner. I just bought this car. So, but yeah, just make sure you do that. I mean, worst case scenario, you'll realize and end up probably undoing both of them anyways. But just a little tip there. And now that you've done essentially everything, you're going to go ahead and slowly pull away the bumper. I didn't get a video of this, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But there are some, as you can see, there's a parking sensor right here. You're going to just want to make sure you disconnect these. Yep, we're going to go ahead and disconnect that. There's also some clips that on the parking sensor cables that clip. So as you can see where I pulled away, I left that actual bottom tray piece connected to the car, and that was supposed to pull away with the bumper. And here I go find a screw. Awesome. But yeah, either way, you just really make sure that you're disconnecting everything. If you have two people to help you with it, definitely recommend having two people while you pull off the bumper and disconnect all those cables. And as you see, we have the wrap on the car, nice forged carbon fiber look. And here we go, we have finished product, forged carbon fiber wrap. Wasn't the best. There's some spots where I wish I could have put more time on it, but ultimately you're not gonna be able to see it. So, and now we're gonna pull the sheathing off, slide it to the right, wiggle it a little bit, and comes right off. This will allow us to access the tubes behind it right there. And now that the housing's gone, we can go ahead and use a screwdriver or drill to unscrew this bracket here, hose clamp rather, and we'll do this on both sides. And now that we have both of these hose clamps loose, we're going to go ahead and just wiggle this off. It should come off after a little bit of perseverance. And with both hose clamps off, we're going to go ahead and go at these brackets. There's one on each side, and sorry about the finger, but there's one on each side, and they essentially hold the radiator, or excuse me, the front-mounted intercooler in. The front-mounted intercooler actually sits on two brackets on the bottom too, but they don't have clips, they just sit in. So as you go and use a screwdriver to pop these out, you do both sides, and then the intercooler will tilt towards you. You can tilt and then wiggle it out. I unfortunately don't have any video of me actually getting the OEM front-mounted intercooler out, just because it takes two hands for one person. But I essentially just kept wiggling it forward, and then I was able to get the left side out first and kind of fish the right side through. Right now, this picture just really shows you the difference between the OEM front-mounted intercooler and the aftermarket. What a size difference there for sure. Definitely notice like just noticeable air, colder air intake into the vehicle. It might be placebo, but even it seems like my engine's just running a little bit cooler too. But it could be placebo. We're going to fall here, so who knows? But one thing just with this, 3 times as big front-mounted intercooler is I just notice a little bit more torquiness. It just feels like the car is a little bit more responsive. So it sounds like I guess it just has room to breathe. And now we have the front-mounted intercooler installed, the new one. What I did was just split it up and have it sitting on some pegs, which you'll see in a second. I'm identifying right here how the brackets are going to connect, where they're going to connect to. They connect to those 13mm bolts on the crash bar. That's what holds it up, really. But right now, it is just held on via the hoses and the pegs that stick out under. And here are the brackets for the front-mounted intercooler. What we did is we just unbolted those nuts from the crash bar, put it in the brackets. There was a little bit of a bending that we had to do in order to get the brackets to sit right. As you see. And now the radiator is fully installed. We just went ahead and tightened up those hose clamps again with a Phillips screwdriver, or flathead screwdriver rather, not Phillips, as you can see right there on the right. Okay, so once both hose clamps have been tightened down properly, you'll want to just reverse order everything that we've done so far. I don't have a good video going over this just because when we did put the bumper back on, it was at 3 in the morning and we were just trying to get everything done. So I'll just briefly go over everything we've done so far that we would need to put back. So on the driver's side of the car, if you recall, we have that black housing that went over that side radiator there. We'll go ahead and pop that back on. And then after that, we'll go ahead and slide the whole bumper on. When we slide the whole bumper on, we're going to want to just make sure everything properly goes in. That's easier said than done because, for instance, when you go to put the bumper on, you might hit the headlights and then you'll have to adjust. It's easier to do with two people. Highly recommend doing it with 2 people, but if you do it by yourself, it can be done. Once you get the bumper on and it's fitted and it's sitting there, what I did was I went ahead and screwed in the bottom torque screws that are on the bottom of the car, connecting those, and then on each side of the car, I went ahead and did all of the torque screws and bolts. So starting with that long, that bolt that was on the inside, if you recall, there's those deep ones, one on each side, the T25s. We'll go ahead and put those in. That will keep the bumper on. And then from there, we work our way back, doing the 10mm bolts, 2 on each side, 10mm nuts, 2 on each side, putting those on. And then we'll go ahead and do the push clip that connects the bumper to the actual fender. Remember that black push clip, 1 on each side, and then each wheel will have 3 T30 torque screws to put in. Again, sorry I didn't have a video for this. It's just the timing and everything like that. At our point was just trying to get the car back together. So if you're still here, we're going to continue into the grill portion of this video. And if you have to jump back to here, I'll link it and everything like that to go over the bumper install. But let's get on to the grill. Okay, now that the bumper's off, we're going to go ahead and pull all these clips that hold the parking sensor lines. And as you can see, the last one, kind of go off camera here, but the last one that right before the actual parking sensor connects into the housing, that one is a zip tied in. You can go ahead and clip that zip tie. We'll pull everything off from there, and on both sides, and then we will be all set. As you see, I'm kind of doing this one-handed, so sorry about the camera angle, and you got my hands coming in, but yeah, zip ties on both sides, and just make sure you clip those off. And now we'll flip the bumper upright, and we'll go ahead and start working these clips off. At the top, there's going to be 2 or 3 on each side. We'll pop those off. One little note, there is one right on the inside of where my hand is. On the inside, that one's a pain to get out. You have to use a screwdriver. And at this point, we're just going around the grill and popping up all the clips. As you can see on the bottom of the actual bumper, right where I'm touching right here, there is kind of like a housing that it sits in. Just popping those clips up. Really, honestly, the biggest 2 pain points of this whole grill swap is up at the top, and you'll see me get to it in a little bit here, just as I'm going around and popping these clips out. But as we get to the top here, you'll see me run into those, and it does not come out nicely. The way it's designed is when you go to put tension on this little tab, it turns sideways, and it's very thick sideways, and you cannot get it out. As you see, I'm trying to pull on it, just to see if I can see how it works. And there's 2 of those, one on each top corner of the grill, and those are honestly just the biggest pain out of this whole entire install of the grill, unfortunately. Yeah, just me playing with this, trying to get it done quick. Let's see. Yeah, nothing too crazy. We're going to go on to another clip here in a second, showing us just spraying WD-40 on it. That kind of helped lubricate it, and as you can see, we finally decided, hey, let's stick a screwdriver down in here and twist. And by doing this, this is our best way of getting this out. So, screwdriver, and sorry about the bad quality footage here, but it's the best we got. And just by sticking that screwdriver into the hole and kind of twisting a little bit on it, prying it, you were able to get it open and pull it through. That's the only way I was able to get it. It was a huge pain, but again, only way. And as you can see here, just turning that sideways in there gave us enough leverage to open that up and pull the tab out. And from here, we went ahead and popped out the Audi logo with the screwdrivers, just some push pins, tabs kind of thing on the back of that. We popped that out, but as we went to go put the new grill back into the bumper, we came across an issue where you can see right here, where this new grill does not sit right into the existing housing. So we had to go ahead and trim this housing down in certain spots to be able to get it slide down all the way. That way the bottom of the new grill sat flush against our bumper. Yeah, as you see, we're kind of just looking at it. It's trying to see how much we have to take off, and you can see that I'm getting a nice shot of the grill. Here we go, back. So this is where that oscillating tool comes in, oscillating saw comes into play here, and really helped us just trim this down to be able to get this to fit correctly. And we really had to do this over in multiple spots. I was just watching the video back, trying to see if there was anything additional we did. But yeah, really just had to go through and trim those few pieces down, literally like 1/4 of an inch in a lot of the locations. Very unfortunate, but it was a quick fix that we had to do. So. And we also had to trim out the housing where the sensors go. As you see here, we used the oscillating saw just to trim that down to get the sensors to fit as so here. So the way they install them was that you would have the sensors reversed, and then you'd be able to see these wires a lot easier. You can still kind of see them, but like I'd rather not have the wires flowing out through to the center or towards the center of the grill. And both of these mounts were like that. Not sure why. Maybe it's something on my end. I don't think so, though. They wouldn't sit properly, so just a small modification that we had to do to these sensor mounts. And after all the modifications were done, we went ahead and cut the mesh to size. Just doing this allowed us to zip tie it easier. So cutting the mesh to size of the grill and then zip tying it in were like the final 2 steps on this grill after installing it back into the actual bumper. And once we had the new grill installed to the bumper, which was simply, doing all those modifications, putting it back in, make sure all the clips go back, realigning all our parking sensor clips to the bumper, as well as making sure our mesh wire was also zip tied down properly and everything like that. We were able to finally put the bumper back on. One thing that I didn't record, amongst the things, many things I didn't record, I wish I did. We did put the S4 badge on. We had to zip tie it, which is unfortunate, but it looks really good, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, and then we put the bumper back onto the car and just really reverse back through all the steps, putting all our torque screws in, putting all our bolts in properly, and then really just going back through and making sure everything was put back together, right? You know, one thing with it being like 2 in the morning when we finished this install, for me it was just having someone's sanity check that you're putting stuff back with you, or putting stuff back correctly rather. You know, it's very easy to miss a torque screw here or a torque screw there. So just make sure you're being very thorough, because you probably won't go back in here for a little while. You probably won't pull off your bumper again for a while if you've already done both the grill and the intercooler install. So, well, that's going to be the end of this video. There's some things I wish I recorded, you know, just as a recap. There's some things I wish I recorded better and had some little bit better equipment, but I'm hoping this helps at least someone with the install or just a better understanding of how to install it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. You know, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. So, thanks all for watching.